So, welcome to the Cauldron of Curiosities, and today we have the beautiful Mab Jones.
Hello.
And Mab is the Queen of the Fairies, if you didn't already know this, and she brings dreams to men. So, I think she's quite a woman to be envious of. Tell us about yourself, Mab.
Hello. About myself. Well, Mab isn't my real name. It's my chosen name because I'm a poet. And I decided to change my name because my birth name is the female version of a male name and lacks imagination. So Mab, as you said, is Queen of the Fairies. And there's a Percy Shelley poem called Queen Mab. And I feel a kind of affinity with this sort of figure, bringing dreams and imagination to people. And I think that is the work of a poet, and I am a poet myself. And that's basically what I do. Words, and because we met on a very particular sort of course, magic, very interesting, the magic of words. And I'm not sure what else to say at this point. Magic and words. That's what I like to do. I live in Wales, should say that. I live in South Wales, near the capital of Cardiff. I live in Penarth now, which is overlooking the sea and is very well to do.
And do you have a website?
I do. It's mabjones.co.uk. I did own mabjones.com, but a domain name provider, when I didn't renew the name quickly when I was ill, took the domain name. I think they just bought it up and now they want me to pay them lots of money to buy it back. So don't go there. Please go to mabjones.co.uk.
Okay, so that's www.mabjones.co.uk. Fantastic. There we go.
Is that any better?
You're well wrapped up.
Yeah, it's a bit chill.
I know it's funny weather for June, isn't it?
It is a bit. Yeah, it was quite hot, but it's overcast now. What's it like where you are?
It's sunny at the moment, but there's some really big grey clouds, and but they're moving fast.
Cool.
So tell me something. What made you curious about becoming a poet?
Well, actually, I wanted to be a novelist before I became a poet. And before I wanted to be a novelist, I wanted to be an artist as a child. But I stopped wanting to be an artist because when I went to high school, I compared myself with children who were much older than me. And that was a mistake. But I haven't really got any art skills now. So then I thought I'll be a novelist. But I was just so kind of blocked and troubled when I was a younger person. I didn't write anything. I did publish people. I did like small press publishing. But when I was about 30, I had a lot of therapy and I studied Reiki and different things. And I just started writing funny little poems. And for a number of years, I was a kind of comic poet. And I did a lot of performances on the comedy circuit and the burlesque circuit and the kind of stand-up poetry circuit. But then I stopped doing that because I didn't like repeating myself constantly. And in 2015, I declared myself a poet proper. And so that's kind of what I am now. But my last book was prose. So it wasn't poetry at all. And it was about wetlands. But that's how I became a poet, because I couldn't write longer things, essentially. Poems are short. You can dash one off in about 10 minutes.
No, I know what you mean. And sometimes when you clear a spiritual block, that can actually help you write. It sort of clears a pathway and allows new information to come in.
Yeah. Well, the problem for me, or the challenge, was childhood trauma. Um, so that required a lot of clearing, and I think I've only just really managed that, and I'm 47 years old. It did take quite a long time to sort that out. Poetry was part of the path. It was healing.
Hmm.
It was therapeutic. It was my soul speaking. It was emotion, my emotions kind of finding an outlet. Um, so yeah, poetry has been really important to me, but I think trauma, that probably led me to poetry, and it probably led me to magic as well. What I'm
Mm.
calling magic. I like the word magic. Makes me think a little bit of Paul Daniels and Debbie McGee. What's wrong with that? I liked them. I loved Whizbit. I loved magical things as a child, Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy books and
Mm.
sci-fi. Yeah. But now I'm into what I'll call real magic, the magic of this world.
Beautiful, isn't it? I think finding the magic in every day is something that gives us all hope, and it's all around us, isn't it? When we look at nature's
Mm,
magic, and how we connect with it, we
mm.
create our own magic.
Yeah, I think nature is the greatest magic and it's the greatest poetry. So you can't ever, or I feel like I can't
Mm.
ever write anything that's as beautiful. We can't create anything that's as amazing. I mean, even if you look at like in this garden, we haven't mowed the lawn, and there's over 10 types of grass just from like a few months of not mowing. And now there's all these so 10
Mhm.
types of grass in and of itself is amazing when you look at them. And now there's these like little, I don't even know what kind of flowers they are. Maybe they're orchids even. I'm not sure. It is rural enough for that to happen. There are orchids nearby, but it's like miraculous. It's like magic. It is
Mm.
magic.
I suppose when you think about it, with the birds, they bring a whole variety of seeds that they spread around the countryside, and you can have, poppies popping up in your garden, and you think, well, how did that flower get there? And we've only got to think about birds moving around eating berries. So the
Mm,
hawthorn tree that's in the really odd place arrived
mm,
by a bird,
mm,
and as a result of it taking its food, and they're all part of the process. And when we look at the beauty of nature and how everything works together, and then we've got humans who are stirring up the mix and getting in
mm,
the way of nature doing its job,
mm,
sadly. And but we're lucky that we have the connection to be able to make sense of it and
mm.
live and enjoy those moments. But I often notice when I'm out walking is how much animals can just get on and have fun. They don't need to be told. They do it. They enjoy themselves. You watch the corvids when they're
Mm,
swooping, or look at seagulls. They're
mm,
enjoying, putting their wings out and going, yoo!
mm,
Woohoo! You can just imagine them falling
mm,
out as they soar down over the waves, and they're racing each other.
mm,
And like, wow, they really do need, they really do know how to have fun. And
mm,
recently, people have been posting pictures of
mm,
deer playing with other animals in the woods, and they're
mm,
really funny. And you're
mm,
thinking, you're just playing chase.
mm.
And when was the last time you behaved like a child? When did you last behave like a child?
Oh, you asking me literally? Me?
Yeah, yeah.
I probably do a little bit of that every day because I am a child. I mean, it's really private. I don't do it outdoors. I would like to. I was at this event for the solstice on
Mm.
Saturday night, and we were looking at children playing in this little park with swings and slides. And I asked someone, like, where's the playground for us? Which I've often wondered, like,
Yeah.
where are the playgrounds for adults? You get those sort of outdoor gyms, which are really serious and boring. But like after the age of 15 or whatever, you're not allowed to go on a swing. You're not allowed to go on a slide. Why not? And the person I said this to said they often
Mm.
felt the same. And why do we have to stop playing at a certain age? And if you don't, then you can't go to a playground, but you've got to sort of invent it for yourself. But maybe it is a private thing. So with my partner, I'm an absolute dick, and he knows this. um, but I wouldn't like to do that out of doors, because people would stare. It would be embarrassing. They'd think negatively of me. But I'm often like in the house rolling around doing
Mm.
childish shenanigans. It's fun. Do you do that?
I do it outdoors, because I don't care. Well, half the time, well, I realised quite a while ago, people aren't looking at you.
Mm,
They might be looking at you,
yeah.
but I know they don't. I seem to blend into the background quite well.
Mm.
And it's like when you've got the wind is blowing in a certain way, and you run down and you open your arms up like you've got wings that you might take off,
Mm.
or you dance
Do you do that?
because the way that the ground feels,
Mm.
and there's certain land where it feels really springy, and you're like, "Woo, this is cool," and you have a little bounce around on it, and
Mm.
yeah, I gave up that sort of concern that people would think, because I think, well, I'm not going to ever hear what they think about me, so there's no point worrying about it, because they're not going to come up to me and go, "Oh, what sort of weird person are you?" Um,
Mm.
it doesn't seem to happen.
Mm.
And the dog, it's like when the dog's playing, and you can sort of join in with them and have
Mm.
a little skit around.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, we've got like a
Yeah,
shared
I
garden
enjoy
here.
it. I suppose it's sorry?
Oh, we've got a shared garden here, so it's like a flat, and there's a flat above, and there's a flat to the side, and they might look out and see me, prancing or dancing. Or I do yoga in the garden sometimes, but even then, I sort of look up, like, oh, are they
Mm.
watching? It's a town, you know, people
Yeah,
watching, curtain twitches.
but they won't say anything, will they? They're
Mm.
unlikely to step past the looking out their window,
Mm.
possibly noticing what you're doing,
Mm.
but then they get distracted by something in the house, like the kettle's clicked, so they're going to go and make themselves a cup of tea
Mm.
or whatever they're watching on TV. And then people who watch a lot of TV are distracted all the time by the
Mm.
television,
Mm.
and that tends to override many
Mm.
things they were thinking about. So they may
Mm.
make a connection and go, that weird girl next door is pretending he's a butterfly in the garden, but it goes away again, because they're just like, ping, it's gone. TV's really
Mm.
good at wiping your mind.
Oh yeah. So they see the girl pretending to be a
Mm.
butterfly, and then they're watching Bargain Hunt. I see. I see. Hmm.
But yeah, I suppose it's allowing yourself the freedom of being who you really want to be,
Mm.
and realizing that there's some people who it's important, isn't it?
Mm.
You believe it's important what they think, but then there's others you think,
Mm.
actually, I don't care what you think. So
Mm.
why am I worried
Mm.
about what you might be thinking? Why am I making excuses? And why am I even thinking for
Mm.
you?
Mm.
Because we do that when we get a bit of anxiety or anxious about something. we're really good at creating a monologue
Mm.
that sits in someone else's head. And yet, if we said to that person, "Oh, I saw you driving along behind me, and I had this story that you were doing X, 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 X," and they're looking at you and going, "Are you some sort of nutter?" Because they weren't thinking about us. They're
Yeah.
probably listening to the radio or thinking, "Ping, I've had a text message come through."
Mm.
And the only reason people think about the person in front is if they do what I do, which is where I'm driving along relatively slowly and
Mm.
I'm making them slow down. Or go to the speed limit.
Mm.
Yeah, because the van's a little bit on the slow side.
Oh, is it? Ah, yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. People don't really. They're in their own worlds, aren't they? Most of the time.
Mm.
I've noticed that. I was in London the other week and there was a woman, I thought she was sort of staring at me. And I have over the years realised people are hardly ever actually staring, they're just in a dream. But I was like, oh, do I know her? Or so I asked her, like, oh, do I know you? Sometimes you do. But no, she was just really tired and she just travelled from like Vienna. So then we talked about Vienna and places to go in London. It was quite nice. I think I was her first sort of interaction in London, even though I'm from Wales.
Mm.
But it was nice. But yeah, people are in their own little bubbles, aren't they, most of the time? I think I've just
They are,
found
and you
it.
don't always know.
No,
Yeah.
no. I think because I wasn't ever open about like magic, I found it maybe. I have come a long way in a year and a half. I mean, a year and a half ago, I was still all, magical things. I kept them very private. I never spoke about them. People didn't know that about me at all. But a year and a half ago, I was really like quite seriously ill, and I knew I had to change things. And what I had kept inside, I had to make outward because I wasn't being authentic as a person. So, yeah, a year and a half ago, I had meningitis. I was in the hospital and I just kept picking up lots of illnesses. And yeah, I had to accept I'm magical. The world is magical and I can be magical. And who cares if people stare?
Did you create a floral crown on Saturday?
I didn't know. I have got one. I should have put it on. I wore it for my birthday last year. No, we did like it was like a well-being event, but they did do magical things in it. So they did do things on paper. We were by the sea, so we wrote things we wanted to let
Hmm.
go of, and then we wrote things we wanted to bring in, and we put things in the fire, and it was like the five elements kind of thing. So with lovely young people, because they're so open to these things, aren't they? It seems.
They are, yeah.
Mm.
No, I know what you mean. It's beautiful when you go with groups and they're really supportive of what you're doing,
Mm.
and 'cause it's like some circles you really hear what people are saying and some of their experiences. But I have noticed that recently people who are coming forward to women's groups,
Mm.
especially,
Mm.
there's a lot of people saying they don't have any friends
Oh, really?
and
Mm.
they don't have friends who understand the path that they're on.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
they end up coming with a lot of vulnerability to groups,
Mm.
and you wonder what came first. So is it their choice of following a spiritual or a magical pathway that means their friends who have different points of view, who have got different priorities,
Mm.
fall by the wayside?
Mm.
Or were they always a little bit on their solo path because they hadn't found the right people yet?
Mm. Maybe a bit of both. Not sure. because it's not a social
Mm.
club, is it? It's your soul. It's soul work. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're not encouraged in this culture to really be our souls. We're encouraged to be a machine and to fit in and to be a cog and to produce
Yeah.
things, and I'm from the working class. So, I've always felt we're kind of made to be feeders and breeders. That's what we do. We consume, and then we like create the next generation of consumers, and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, so I wasn't brought up in any religion. I wasn't really brought up to think there was a soul. I mean, everyone in my family is quite psychic, so there was that. There was that sort of unknown element, paranormal, but they weren't moral people.
Mhm.
They weren't particularly moral. So I always thought being moral was more important, personally. Yeah. And what is the soul? The soul is, it's not a set of morals, but it is
No.
pure, and when you connect to your own soul, you realize everyone else has got a soul. And then eventually, or I realized, no, it's not everyone's got a soul, it's that we've all got the soul. There is only one soul. We're all the same. And then you realize if you hurt another, you're hurting yourself. If you remember a lot of past life traumas, which I have, that was my main work in this lifetime, sorting out past life and this life traumas. Then you realize you hurt someone, you do get it back. You do hurt someone, you hurt yourself, really.
Mm.
Yeah. How did I get onto that? Not sure.
I don't know.
Drink some coffee. There's ants going in my coffee. I was talking about the
Oh
soul.
no.
Yeah, that's buggers. Caffeine
So
addict.
if you could practice some of the magical stuff with the ants, because they're really good at listening if you are respectful.
Oh, really?
So
Mm.
if you ask the ants and just let them know that you'd appreciate it if they left your coffee alone.
Ah, yeah, okay.
But it is with ants, it's you can communicate with them and they will choose to go elsewhere if
Mm.
you're respectful with your language with them. There
Mm.
was a guy that he wrote about this. It's like a meaning of life type of book, but
Mm.
it's really small, and I can't remember his name, but I read it years and years ago, and he talks about the value of life, and some of it's quite got a Buddhist type theme to it.
Mm.
But one of the things that he looks at is about being respectful to all living things,
Mm.
and if we have respect for all living things, then we're a little bit closer to communicating with them and
Mm.
acknowledging their gift,
Yeah.
that their life is just as important as ours. It changes how we interact
Mm.
and how we interact with the earth and
Mm.
other people. And it can
Mm.
be quite hard, especially if you come across something that's hostile or someone that's hostile. We can often reflect back what we're
Mm.
receiving, and that can be a bit of a challenge in itself, can't it? On how we do that. But with the ants,
Mm.
a lot of people see ants coming into their kitchen,
Mm.
so they put poison down or they kill them
Mm.
with boiling water. Whereas after I read this book, I just went and spoke to him and I said, look, I said, I appreciate that you've come in for a reason. I said, but please could you leave the kitchen? I said, because I like to try and keep it clean,
Mm.
because it's where I prepare my food. And had
Mm.
a sort of said why I didn't want them in the kitchen,
Mm.
and walked away and left them to it.
Mm.
And they went,
Mm.
they left. And then my boyfriend a few years ago, I actually had a boyfriend, believe it or not,
Mm.
and he his mother said, she is having a problem with the ants. And she sort of swings into spirituality and magic.
mm,
And I said to her about this book, it's called A Kinship with All Life, is
mm,
actually the name of it.
mm,
And I said, try this. And she said, okay. And she contacted me and she goes, it worked.
mm,
She said it really worked. I asked them to go and they moved on.
mm,
And because why kill? Why kill them? They do a really good job. They've got a
mm,
job. They've got a better
mm,
job on this universe than we have. They do more for the planet
mm,
than we do, and
mm,
yet we think it's okay to kill them.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
it's. But then it's all about mindset, isn't it? And some people believe, it's like the spiders, but they've got more right to be here than a spider does.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't been
Um,
taught the truth. I mean, the truth then is that we can talk to nature because we are part of nature and it's a conversation. And I'd love to read that book. I was reading a book recently. It was called Co-Creating with Nature. And it was about
mm,
our relationship with nature. And yeah, it was sort of similar in some ways. But we're not taught that. We're not taught some very basic things, and then if you talk about those things, people might, again, going back to what people might think you're mad and they wouldn't even give
yeah,
it a go, would
yeah, they
they?
do. Oh, I know, because there's an episode in the book. He does it in little chapters, and
Mm,
it's only a small book, but
mm,
he talks about his experience where he made friends with a fly.
mm,
And at the time, I was like, why would you do that? Why would you make friends with this fly?
mm,
But within this fly's short life, he built a connection with it, and it's beautiful, the story around his connection with this fly.
mm,
And I remember at the time, I thought, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to
mm,
use his ideas and his tips
mm,
and see if I can communicate with the fly that's, in the house. And my kids they were wetting themselves. So they're like, what is it with you, mother? They're like, because I think about it at the time, I
mm,
was a major in the British Army, and
mm.
I'm spending my spare time talking to flies and about and playing with them and getting them to do things in the house
Mm,
by trying to. I suppose what I was doing was using my psychic abilities
mm,
to see if it would respond to me,
mm,
and I know regarding that ability of using our mind, there's so much research being done at the moment
mm,
around our ability to use the mind to even use for telekinesis.
mm,
Plymouth University is doing research on it at the moment,
oh, mm, mm,
where you can actually move physically,
mm,
change the location of something.
mm,
And you think, but I think part of the problem with that is we get in our own way.
mm, yeah,
Because we don't think it can happen, we stop it from happening. And
mm,
it's like time. If you want to get somewhere in a set amount of time, you can, on certain occasions, pull yourself out of that
mm,
system that's going on in the general world and
mm,
get there in half the time. And
mm,
and then you'll think to yourself, how did I do that?
mm,
I could not give you a textbook answer on how, but I've
mm,
done it on a couple of occasions where I've let go,
mm,
and all I've thought about is
mm.
I would really like to be at that place early,
Yeah.
but I know it's not. I know systematically, thank you, Bumblebee, it's going to be difficult because
Mm,
SatNav says it's going to take 40 minutes. I've given myself 30 minutes,
mm,
and then you do it in 20.
mm,
So
mm,
and that's when you go, right, so what? where are you, how is that moving?
Mm,
But it's allowing it to happen, letting go of control.
letting go of
I
control.
think
Yeah.
that's quite important, isn't it?
Yeah. I had I studied Reiki with two different teachers a long time ago. I have studied a lot of things since then, but the first Reiki teacher was like, "Oh, we'd only give you information when you asked the question." So it was like when the student is ready. But the second Reiki teacher was like the opposite and gave all the information, and it was like maybe too much at the time. But I remember him talking about time and how we could be free of time, and kind of what you're saying there. We could do things, in terms of time quickly
Hmm.
because we could be free of time. And
Yeah,
found that very interesting. I haven't experienced it much myself, but I think it is possible to be free of time, but
yeah,
I'm not there yet. But yeah, I might be one day. I think I will be. I'm just going to say it. I think it's possible and I think I'll get there. And then I'll realize it was the truth because I'm interested in the truth above all things. We've been told so much bullshit. It's lying by omission. We've been told things are cringe or alternative or crazy or, I mean, I'm not going to get burned as a witch in this lifetime, but a lot of the things they've told us are witchcraft or whatever term they put on it. They're actually the truth.
yeah.
I mean, my partner sent me this
You're right.
um, kind of news article today, and it was about a woman who her daughter, the mother was told the daughter not to have treatment for cancer, and then the daughter died. And it's very black and white in its thinking. I mean, my partner is very black and white in their approach to these things. So it's not saying it's a battle, one thing or the other. If everything is magic, that
Mm,
even means all the man-made medicines are magic. And how amazing is that? How amazing is science? But
yeah,
sometimes, you know, science says everything that it doesn't know, that it hasn't proved or put a stamp on, is bullshit. And that's like really closed minded. And how can, for example, like with herbal medicine, herbs are natural. Why are they inferior to something man made? That doesn't make any logical sense. It's really strange
why do you
how,
think?
well, I know why. Money. Where we live in this capitalist consumerist world. But the logic
Mm,
is, part of the truth is logic. And actually, that's what I followed since I was a child. When I was a child, I was like, we don't talk about God or death. Two like huge mysteries, very interesting. Why don't we look at them? And then I looked at them and found that other
hmm.
people had looked at them. Some of those people were mystics, some of those people were fanatics, you know, some of those people were, I don't know, just normal people who'd had amazing experiences that they couldn't explain. But there was something in it. And what I dislike about people who think they're scientific is that they just close off what's unexplained or what they can't pigeonhole, and they just put it in this sort of giant planet-sized rubbish bin labeled bullshit. It's not logical. Not logical. So yeah, I'll read the article about my partner sent me about the woman whose daughter died. And it does seem like there was a lot going on there. It seemed like there was a lot of control and certain,
Mm,
bad parenting, really, codependent and different things. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna stop using tuning forks or meditating or saying I've got a soul, because I have, and you have too. I'm talking to my partner. He just cycled off to go and do some tree volunteering. He is a good person, but Yeah. He wouldn't try and talk to the trees. That's a mistake.
Yeah. I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Is why is it okay to just go up to a tree without introducing yourself?
Mm.
It's a living being. So why do we say hello to a human
Mm.
and we might shake hands, or we might say, "Hi, my name is," you might do that, or you might just go, "Hi, how are you today?
Mm.
Is it okay if I step into your space?" But
Mm.
often, because we've not been encouraged to do that with trees and to be respectful of them,
Mm.
it means it's not part of our routine. And one of the things you often hear people say is when you go into the woods or doing anything with plants
Mm.
is just to say hi.
Mm.
Um, and is that okay for me to come into your area? Can I touch you?
Mm.
And they will answer you. Some don't want you to touch them. I
Mm.
certainly got a big fuck off from bluebells once. I was like, okay, fine, I won't come anywhere near you. Right.
Mm. Well, fair enough, because if you step on a bluebell, it can't ever grow back, can it? And you see people
No,
walking on them and
no,
got their dogs there, and you're like, yeah, it looks really
I know.
pretty. What a lovely Instagram moment you're having, but you are destroying like a rare species. You're killing it.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, they're pretty shocking, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then, and that's part of the problem, isn't it? When you look out, and so when we're thinking, what the magical bits that we can do each day, it's like I always one of my offerings is I either do birdseed, I leave
Mm.
birdseed,
Mm.
or I collect plastic litter
Mm.
and I will gather that, and
Mm.
that's my regular
Mm.
way of exchange, or just leaving
Mm.
something that's beneficial to the
Mm.
earth. Is go, well, I'll just remove these bits that other people have left,
Mm.
and trying to encourage other people to not leave their plastic there in the first place.
Mm. Yeah.
And if they do, and people do forget, but maybe if they see it, to pick it up rather than just walk past it or walk over it.
Mm.
Carry a couple of dog poo bags in your pocket to pick up
Mm.
plastic. If you don't like touching other people's waste, you don't have to touch it.
Mm.
There are ways around it, but yeah, it's bizarre. I've been to some really beautiful places, and I remember once I came across this gorgeous tree, but it had a hollow in it,
Mm.
and it's quite interesting when you look inside, because you do see all sorts of things. Normally, I've
Mm.
seen some of those geocaching things inside
Mm.
hollows of trees and all
Mm.
sorts. Unfortunately, on this occasion, somebody had decided to deposit their dog poo bag inside the
Oh
tree.
no, God,
What? I don't know.
horrible,
Why would you
horrible.
do that?
Mm.
And there's a walk that I go on regularly, and it's the same person, because they leave a particular colour dog poo bag,
Mm.
and they did it more than once on
Mm.
this particular tree, and they
Mm.
tucked it between its branches.
Mm.
And trees will eventually grow around the
Mm.
man-made objects that are left in them.
Mm.
I've seen a tree growing, it's got barbed wire fence embedded in
Mm.
it,
Mm.
where it grows around that. So
Mm.
they work around us, but it
Mm.
really doesn't need to have dog poo and plastic as
No,
part of its
no,
makeup.
it's horrible.
And you're like,
Very
I do understand how annoying it is when you're out for a walk, because I have somebody not too far away from me.
bumble.
You've got past that last dog poo bin,
Mm.
where it's far enough that you don't want to go back to it, and he will crap. I mean, oh, great. And now I've got to carry this for miles.
Yeah.
So I can see why people might go, oh, I don't want to carry that for the next 10 miles.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so they put it down and they think to themselves, oh, I will get it later. Well, actually, what you bet, and I know people won't agree with this, I think, don't put it in a plastic bag then.
Mm.
Leave the dog poo where he crapped and pick it up on your way back with the plastic bag. At
Mm.
least then it's got half a chance of breaking down.
Mm. Yeah.
And then if you forget about it,
Mm.
it's less damage than leaving something that's not going to biodegrade for hundreds of years.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
But going back to the magical bit, yeah, so doing all of those things, I suppose it's part of that respectful communication
Mm.
and going, what is it you need from me when you're talking?
Mm.
And sometimes when we do magic, we might have to offer an activity or something that we do in exchange for what we're seeking.
Mm.
And one thing I learned is be really specific about what it is you're offering
Mm.
and put a end date on it. So don't
Mm.
go, oh, I'm going to do this. Because if you do, you're going to be doing it for the rest of your life.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
And yeah, just
Yep.
learn from my mistakes.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
because if you, one of the things I found was committing myself
Mm.
to an activity. If I don't do it, I get a reminder. I
Mm.
get nudged all the time,
Mm.
going, "It's about time you did that, isn't it? You've not done it recently."
Mm.
You're like, oh. So yeah, put an
Mm.
expiry date on and say,
Mm.
I will do it 10 times.
Mm. Mm. Okay. That's really good to know. Thank you.
When you're in your negotiation, well, it's all negotiation, isn't it?
Mm.
So, when you're negotiating and
Mm.
you say, right, I'll do 3, and they go, no, I want 5. Map, I
Mm.
want you to write 5 poems in exchange.
Well, they could just be like haikus, very short.
Yeah.
Don't
And do
specify
you
anything.
find haiku easy to do? How
No.
easy do you find haiku?
I didn't write haiku for a lot of years because I felt that they were like the pinnacle of poetry forms. So I didn't write them for a long. I mean, I lived in Japan when I was in my early 20s, and I just think haiku coming from Japan, they're just perfection. It's all about Zen, isn't it? And being in the now and like
Mm.
a snapshot. They can be so perfect, so affecting. So I found them really hard to write before, but now I do find them easier. Yes.
So what is it when you're writing haiku? What are you
Mm.
trying to achieve?
Well, I have written a book of haiku. It's called 111 Haiku for Lockdown. And with that, it was kind of a diary. And I wrote them all within 24 hours. And it was just kind of snapshots of the day. And they're kind of modern haiku. So they didn't
Mhm.
follow any particular rules. They didn't even follow like the 575 syllabic structure because we don't have to in English, I believe, because in Japanese, the kanji that they write them in, the ideograms they're so much more complex. They've got so many more associations. We can't write
Mhm.
the same richness of poem if we keep to the same syllabic count. So Jack Kerouac and other writers, they didn't do 575 for that reason. So that book that I wrote was just like modern haiku, and it didn't have any rules. So you could argue they're not even
Mhm.
haiku. I felt that they were. So they were like a snapshot, and that's one of the rules. But I tend towards the other rules of haiku when I write them now. So I don't keep to the 575 count. But I do include like Kigo, which is nature words to show the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I do tend to have it in 2 parts. So there's one image and then there's another image, so the images juxtapose. And I do tend to have themes of, life and death, because they're the major themes of haiku, being primarily nature poetry.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about seasonality. So I tend to do that. Do you write haiku?
Yeah. I have done in the past. I can't remember when I did it. I was doing it. It would have been before 2024 because I was still living in a house. And I think I was putting them on Facebook or Instagram. Actually, it was probably Instagram. So I was chucking them up on Instagram and having a play because it seemed to be a thing, that I was going, oh, let's do this. I have these bright ideas and I rumble through them, have a play for a while. And then something else catch my eye and I whiz off down that rabbit hole. Join us next week for part 2.